Good afternoon, and welcome to the opening convocation of the new academic year. We do not know how this year will unfold, and we continue to live in all aspects of our lives with more than the usual quotient of trepidation and uncertainty. Yet I hope you feel, as I do, the energy of this moment and the anticipation and excitement of new beginnings. Of course, we would prefer to be gathered in the historic quad, but as with so many things these days, we will adapt to the present circumstances and maintain what matters most, celebrating the new year together and welcoming our newest members of the Bates community. First, I would like to welcome new faculty and staff. I am sure that you did not anticipate when you were considering coming to Bates that you would arrive under the conditions we all face at the moment, figuring out how to operate a college safely during a pandemic. But we are so glad you've joined us. Returning faculty, this opening of the academic year is unusual, as I know that many of you have seen very little break in the action since last spring. You have had intense summers as you have redesigned your courses to fit the modular semester and teach in multiple modalities. Many of you as well have been deeply engaged beyond your department and courses in working with colleagues across campus on the extensive planning required to prepare us for this unusual academic year. Staff, you have worked very hard for months to adapt literally every aspect of life and work at the college. Everyone at Bates has changed the way they do their work, and some of you have been involved in a wholesale re-engineering of college operations. You have reconfigured dining, established new cleaning protocols, measured college spaces for social distancing, built a testing center from the ground up, and established and communicated an array of public health measures and community expectations to give us our best chance to have students remain on campus while keeping everyone safe and healthy. I cannot possibly thank staff and faculty adequately for the extraordinary work you have done getting us to this point. Returning students, if you're watching, we missed you terribly. This place is truly not the same without you. I want to offer a special welcome to the newest members of our student body, the class of 2024. This convocation marks your formal introduction into the Bates community and the community of scholars. It also serves as a bookend to commencement 4 years later, as convocation and commencement are the only two times in your Bates career that you come together as a full class. Things are a little different this year, of course, and I fervently hope that when you graduate in May of 2028, we will all be gathered in person with your families and loved ones on May 2024. I was thinking your first years, pardon me. I fervently hope that when you all graduate in May 2024, we will all be gathered in person with your families and loved ones on a glorious sunny morning in the historic quad. I would like to take a moment this morning to offer a few thoughts about the liberal arts in the age of COVID. We begin the new academic year at a time characterized by dislocation, stress, and distress that extends from Lewiston across the globe and that is personal to each and every member of this college community. We are in the midst of a global pandemic that has confronted all of us with fear and uncertainty and altered the most basic rhythms of daily life. It has also, in the words of one commentator, served as a kind of X-ray of our society, allowing us to see all the broken pieces, the racial inequities, the poisonous partisanship, the governmental incompetence, the disrespect for science, the loss of standing among nations, the fraying of community bonds. One of the most striking divides directly exposed by the pandemic is the differential impact of the disease by race and ethnicity. When adjusted for age, Black, Indigenous American, and Latinx people die at more than 3 times the rate of white people. As if to underscore this stark fact, this spring and summer have also confronted us repeatedly and relentlessly with police killings of Black people and the ongoing devaluation of Black lives. We began the summer with the brutal killing on May 25th of George Floyd by Minneapolis police. Notwithstanding 3 ensuing months of public outrage, protests across the country, widespread acknowledgement of systemic racism, calls for reform, and promises of change, we ended the summer as it began, with a Kenosha, Wisconsin police officer shooting Jacob Blake 7 times in the back while his 3 young sons looked on. These are deeply distressing times for anyone who cares about our country and our fellow human beings. But they are particularly heavy times for the Black, Indigenous, and Brown students, faculty, and staff who are members of this community. What does all this have to do with the liberal arts? Understanding the coronavirus pandemic and its implications means knowing something about biology, chemistry, history, literature, politics, Africana, economics, psychology, sociology, statistics, philosophy, ethics, basically all the subjects we teach. And it's not just the what that matters, the breadth of the subject matter, it is also the how. We teach our students that hard problems do not admit of easy answers, that sound decisions are based on the conscious integration of evidence, values, and judgments about the impact of our actions on the lives of others, that unequal access to resources and power magnifies deep inequities in the opportunities of different groups to access education, healthcare, housing, employment, and capital, and as we keep being reminded, in the ability to be secure in one's basic personal safety. We see every day in the news that the issues and challenges presented by the pandemic, like most hard problems, are fundamentally interconnected. We have learned through bitter experience this summer that if we don't get the science right, we won't get the economics right. If we substitute ideology for expertise, we lose our bearings. Without a commitment to facts and evidence, we abandon the fundamentals of discourse, debate, and meaning-making. This causes us to get policy wrong and hurt people. It causes us to substitute violence for persuasion. Dealing with the challenges posed by the wicked problems we are up against depends on highly specific expertise, but it requires in equal measure the ability to take information from various domains and form integrated frameworks to guide policy and action. More important, a liberal arts education at its core prizes the relationship between knowledge and values and asks us to invest in the lives of others and the world we walk through together. The education we offer is not merely the accumulation of knowledge and skills, but the cultivation of the ability to enter imaginatively into the lives of others so that we will act in the world based on a vivid and informed sense of our common humanity. Students, this year by sheer circumstance, you will approach your college experience more consciously and intentionally than students in previous years. With all that is going on around us, I hope that you will see more readily how your courses connect to events in the world. I hope as well that the knowledge and habits of mind you gain here at Bates will help you shape with conscious intention how you will move through the world over your lifetimes. I'd like to leave all of you with one final thought for the fall of 2020. A liberal arts education has many purposes. A particularly salient purpose at this moment is the notion that democracy depends on having an educated citizenry, capable of distinguishing truth from falsehoods, of engaging in informed debate, and of discerning and acting in service of a common good. As Cicero famously observed over 2,000 years ago, what greater or better service can I render to the Commonwealth than to instruct and train the youth? The concept that a core purpose of the liberal arts is to educate citizens for democracy is so ancient and seemingly self-evident that we tend to take it for granted. Yet it could not have more urgency. In an essay he wrote shortly before he died scarcely 6 weeks ago and asked to have published on the day of his funeral, the late Congressman and civil rights leader John Lewis put it this way: democracy is not a state. It is an act, and each generation must do its part to build what we call the beloved community, a nation and world society at peace with itself. Thank you, class of 2024, for choosing Bates as your place to figure out what you wish to learn and how you will act in the world. Thank you, returning students, faculty, staff, families, and other guests watching for being with us today. And out of respect for John Lewis and his lifelong fight for voting rights, I urge all of us on November 3rd to do what should be, when it is not deliberately made difficult, the simplest yet most powerful act available to citizens of democracy, and vote. Now let me give you a sense of how the ceremony will proceed from here. First, you will be welcomed by your student government co-presidents, Perla Figueiredo and Libanos Mengistu. Convocation remarks will be delivered by two faculty members, Stephanie Kelley-Romano and Charles Nero. Finally, at the end of the ceremony, Brittany Longsdorf, our multi-faith chaplain, will lead us in a benediction. Perla Figueiredo, your student government co-president, is a senior from the Bronx, New York, and Santiago, Dominican Republic. She is majoring in rhetoric, film, and screen studies, and theater, and she is active in Latinos Unidos, Amandla, and the IT Help Desk. Your other co-president, Libanos Mengistu, is a senior from Somerville, Massachusetts, and Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. He is majoring in politics with a concentration in security, conflict, and cooperation, and in Africana. He is involved with the Africana Club, Club Soccer, the Astronomy Club, the Security Council, and intramural basketball. Beginning several years ago, we revived an earlier tradition of asking the outgoing senior class to choose a professor to speak to the incoming first years at this convocation. Today's faculty speakers are, in effect, a gift of the class of 2020 to the class of 2024. They chose brilliantly. Stephanie Kelley-Romano is Associate Professor of Rhetoric, Film, and Screen Studies, specializing in topics in the popular consciousness, including the rhetoric of television, conspiracy theaters, and presidential campaign rhetoric. She was awarded the Ruth M. and Robert H. Krebs Award for Excellence in Teaching in 2019. She is known, as the Bates News article about her receipt of the Krebs Award put it, as a teacher who is exacting, empathetic, authentic, and passionate about her field. Benjamin E. Mays, 20, that would be 1920, Distinguished Professor of Rhetoric, Film, and Screen Studies, Charles Nero has been a member of the Bates faculty since 1991. He teaches film and literary and cultural studies and is a member of our program in Africana. His courses examine the ways that cultural production reveal the lived experiences of Americans, particularly African Americans and queer Americans. For many years, he provided critical leadership on the Martin Luther King Jr. Day Committee, helping to make this annual multi-day event rich in substance and a highlight of the academic year. Now, please join me in welcoming first Perla Figueiredo and Libanos Mengistu, who will be followed by Professors Kelley-Romano and Nero. Thank you, and welcome Perla and Libanos.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2020-2021 academic school year. I want to welcome all faculty and staff, returning students, and most importantly, our newest class of 2024. Congratulations on becoming part of the Bobcat family. I hope you all had an amazing summer, even during these uncertain times, such as the one we've been facing this year. My name is Perla Figuereo, and I am from the Boogie Down Bronx and also from the Dominican Republic, and I am a senior double majoring in rhetoric, film and screen studies, and theater.
My name is Libanos, and I'm from Somerville, Massachusetts, and originally from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. At Bates, I'm a senior double majoring in politics and Africana studies. It is part of tradition for Bates College student body presidents to offer some words of wisdom and advice to the incoming first-year students. And this year, you get two of us. In the theme of community, we decided to run as co-presidents for the first time ever to be as effective as possible and reach a wide range of folks all over campus.
We are so excited to have you all join the great community that is Bates. This year, more than ever, we're going to need our Bates community to rely on one another. We want to make sure to keep everyone safe and well so that we can have a fantastic school year despite the unprecedented circumstances.
First thing first, we want to address how difficult this year has been for many folks, especially for Black people. We want you all to know that we see you, we hear you, and we stand with you. The injustices that Black folks have faced and continue to face is a challenge on and off campus.
This year, as your student body leaders, we want to emphasize creating more equitable Bates, but also a more equitable society. We want to acknowledge that many Black lives lost at the hands of police brutality, healthcare inequality, and overall broken justice system, among many other things.
Coming to Bates our first year, we didn't know what to expect, what to feel or do. Being a first-generation college student, a first-generation immigrant, and in low income presented a great deal of challenges. At times we felt lost, but a key to getting through those tough times, is finding your support system. For us, that was the OIE, the Office of Intercultural Education. By having the support of the OIE, we were able to navigate what was not an easy first year. However, as time went on at Bates and we solidified our friend group and strengthened our support systems, Bates became a place where the school became a true home.
When thinking about what we wanted to talk to you about today, I find myself having a hard time condensing my Bates experience into just a few minutes. I kept asking myself, how do I condense a roller coaster of experiences and emotions into one page?
Now being 3 years into Bates, on to our fourth, we want to offer some advice as to how to navigate this place and make the most of your Bates experience.
Academically, 1, challenge yourself by trying new things. Take a class that interests you, one that you could have never imagined yourself taking. 2, seek assistance and ask questions when you don't understand. Utilize the Academic Resource Center, better known as the ARC, your professors, TAs, and your classmates. 3, let yourself have fun in those classes.
Socially, although it can be overwhelming at first, try to connect with your classmates and peers. Try to learn something new from everyone you meet. Everyone has a story. Be open-minded. At Bates, we have people from all over the world. Be willing to listen to your peers and to try to understand their background and help them understand yours. Take risks. Try an activity you've never tried before. You'd be surprised at how many friends you'll make just by trying out a new club or a new extracurricular.
Individually, be comfortable with failure. Seek a balance. Be okay with saying no and yes to things when you feel it's right. 3, let yourself fall in love with the new things in your life, whether that is academically, socially, or individually.
Your class is one that sits in history. You all joined a community, whether it is virtually or in person, and we cannot be more excited to have you. You should be proud of yourselves for taking that step to join us in one of the most unprecedented years in history.
I am truly so excited to see you all grow from today to the end of the school year and beyond. I trust that you will make great choices, keep each other safe, and find your most authentic selves.
We love you all and welcome to Bates. Black Lives Matter.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Stephanie Kelley-Romano, an associate professor and chair of the Department of Rhetoric, Film, and Screen Studies. My partner in convocating today is Dr. Charles Nero, the Benjamin E. Mays Distinguished Professor in Rhetoric, Film, and Screen Studies and Africana. Today, we will jointly address you and invite you into our convocation conversation. We want to begin by thanking the class of 2020 for inviting us to give this address. It is really an honor. And we also want to thank and welcome the class of 2024 and all of our students, faculty, staff, and community members who are here. It's been a year so far for sure. And we want to recognize the thoughtfulness and thoroughness of the plan of action that this community has mobilized in order to bring us together, both in person and virtually. Nothing in this world is perfect, but we are very proud to be part of an institution that continually critiques and strives to perfect itself. We're excited to welcome the class of 2024 into that process and into our community. Your experiences, ideas, and definitely enthusiasm are needed. So this address, like this year, has no real precedent. We are boldly going where no man, woman, or non-gender specific individual has gone before. Although uncertainty can be scary, the lack of limitations, the breadth of possibility can also be exhilarating. As we encounter challenges, which we invariably will, we necessarily must be nimble. We must pivot, if you will. Now, the word pivot has several meanings. As a verb, pivot means to turn on or around a central point. Often we use pivot in a colloquial way with the meaning of a change of direction in policy or procedure. This colloquial definition usually has adeptness or adroitness as part of its connotations. So today, Charles and I want to share with you the stories of our individual journeys, our personal pivots, to demonstrate the ways that collaboration, trust, and learning can create useful and satisfying lives. In so doing, we would also like to encourage you to think about your own positionality and your pivoting possibilities.
Education has been one of the main points about which my life pivots. Although I was a theater major as an undergrad, I pursued graduate work in speech communication for its hopeful emphasis on the role of language and the performance of it in a democratic state. Speech communication, specifically rhetoric and public address, appealed to me because I came of age in the American South as the civil rights and Black Power movements transformed the meaning of citizenship for African Americans. It allowed, laws were passed that affirmed my people's right to access the American dream. I really believed that my graduate education would help me to participate and contribute productively to the stories and histories about my people and what we do and have done for our nation. However, I came to understand that my chosen discipline was fundamentally enmeshed in the politics of white redemption that pivoted on white supremacy, the denial of slavery as a cause of the Civil War, and a belief in African American inferiority. In graduate school, I realized how deeply implicated speech communication's stakes were in white supremacy and anti-Blackness, as it metaphorically slapped me in the face every semester. A leading professor in American public address and oratory asked me one time, "Why are you interested in writing about Blacks? Hasn't everything been written about them?" Another professor discouraged me from writing about African Americans in 20th century progressive politics because he was only encouraging, I quote, his graduate students to write about people who were mainstream and central. In another course on British public address, silence was the norm for the abolition of slavery movement that changed the course of our world by ending the traffic in human bodies that produced the wealth that created modern capitalism. My experiences inside the classroom reflected the discipline at large. To succeed, I had to demonstrate mastery of the discipline's canonical text that made little to no mention of African Americans, of women, indigenous peoples, queer people, or any other people of color in US history and culture. I pivoted away from speech communication to African American studies, and especially toward literary and film studies. I embraced Audre Lorde's famous pronouncement that the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house. At Bates, I learned new skills. I retooled myself in new theories and in new pedagogies. I never left speech communication completely behind because I believed, and I still do, that language and its performance are crucial for a democracy. However, I believe as well that democracy requires a commitment to social justice that strives to be inclusive and equitable. The majors I have been most involved in here at Bates, Africana and Rhetoric, Film and Screen Studies, emphasize social justice as crucial components for an undergraduate education.
My experience in academia is similar but different. As a first-gener, college seemed like a magical place, and I was an unlikely inhabitant of said space. In high school, my guidance counselor had told me that I wasn't college material. Primarily, I think now that was because my family did not have the economic means of most of my classmates. So my academic journey began in community college. And like Charles, I did a lot of pivoting. I pivoted from an art major to studying law to communication studies. I made myself dizzy pivoting between loving lip gloss and all things pink and absolutely hating the mass-mediated messages about what I should be and what I should want as a woman. So I had a lot of shame as I came to understand the world and my place in it. And I think it's important to speak about it because much of my shame was about the performance of my identity, which was under constant scrutiny by multiple audiences. And for the life of me, I could not get it right. I internalized and individualized systemic inequalities and experienced them as individual inadequacies. Maya Angelou has a quote where she says, "We do the best we can with what we know. And when we know better, we do better." But at that point, I didn't know what I didn't know. Dissatisfaction with the status quo, dissatisfaction with being treated differently became individualized guilt and shame. But then in graduate school, I came to understand the framing power of language. Rhetoric prompted me to pivot my attention in order to critique not only the consequences of calling someone a survivor versus a victim, but also the larger systems and their entrenched histories that put the onus on girls to not distract boys with their tight clothing, or to act like ladies, or to just accept that boys will be boys. As a person in recovery, I would cringe when watching the invariably oversimplified depictions of alcoholism and addiction on television and in film. Over the years, I've watched and I continue to track the way that the language reframes addiction. So we've moved from addiction and alcoholism being a moral weakness to a chemical dependency, to now we talk about a person with substance misuse disorder. Each iteration of the naming and reframing of this redefines the agent and attempts to destigmatize addiction. Pivoting between text and context, between exigence and audience, has made me a better scholar, teacher, and citizen. So now here we are, here you are, class of 2024, just beginning the journey that Charles and I began so long ago. And as rhetoric professors, we're very well versed in the conventions and expectations of speech situations and of this speech situation. We're supposed to welcome you into the Bates community. We're supposed to encourage you in your intellectual curiosity and offer you some advice. And we're supposed to affirm that you are indeed wonderful.
But these are not conventional times. We are in the midst of a global pandemic that has raised issues about equity, work, safety, and freedom. We are witnessing a pandemic that has taken the lives disproportionately of people of color, people in service work, people in communities of color, indigenous peoples on their homelands, immigrants, and people who do not live in single-family nuclear unit homes. We are witnessing the mobilization of anti-racist protests across the country and the world in response to the continued brutality and murder of Black Americans. We are also witnessing worldwide an unprecedented struggle for democratic institutions and norms. For many of you, it will be the first time grappling with issues of social justice and intersectional sites of power. For others, social justice issues will be something you have dealt with all of your life. And for many of you, you will be participating in your very first US presidential election virtually. You've come of age in a time of alternative facts and are living in a time of cancel culture, call-out culture, and conspiracy theories. It's a lot. It's easy to be overwhelmed. It's tempting to distract and distance ourselves from the uncomfortableness that growth and change require. But we can't. You can't. You've earned the opportunity to come to Bates and the chance to let it change you.
A liberal arts education is grounded in the belief that breadth of knowledge and cultivation of curiosity and creativity prepares people best for civic life. The liberal arts education you receive at Bates will enable you to navigate these pressing questions raised in our culture and equip you with the tools to make critical judgments. So we have some advice. And our first bit of advice is to get out of your comfort zone. As a department, we chose to pivot away from an exclusive focus on mainstream white public address in order to amplify the marginalized and ignored voices of history. In so doing, we moved from description of speeches and strategies and styles to critiques of the systemic powers that perpetuate injustice. You too, as individuals, need to get out of your comfort zone. Yes, we know you love all things geo, or you are absolutely set on going to law school, or you need to dance in order to feel alive. We understand that, but there are experiences that you need to have and things to learn all around you. Don't let your focus be so narrow that you miss the beauty of a broader perspective. Seriously, sign up for something that you would never do. Ask a friend if you can tag along to a lecture. Ask an upper class student some of the things that they've liked to do. And do one of the things that sounds interesting, and do one of the things that makes you feel some other kind of way. Be open to the experience.
Being open leads us to our second piece of advice. Don't be afraid to get messy. 20 years ago, as we were redesigning our curriculum, we knew we wanted some sort of classical, pop culture, social justice mashup, and it was messy until we realized and recognized the centrality of power as the pivot point of our research and our teaching. Messiness is the beginning of what the late Congressman John Lewis called good trouble. We know you have been taught how to write the best 5-paragraph essay ever. We know you can recite facts. You can follow formulas. But now we want you to follow your heart, informed by your head to create new ways of thinking and being in the world.
Our third piece of advice is to be patient with yourself and to be patient with each other. Be humble enough to know that you might not know everything. And guess what? Neither do your professors. I know that when I started at Bates, like Maya Angelou noted, I didn't know what I didn't know. And the people here, my colleagues, were incredibly kind. And they would simply suggest things that I might want to think about or drop off a book in my mailbox that I might want to look at. We are all in this together, in this messy act of co-creation of knowledge and self-emancipation. Approach experiences with a willingness to learn. Don't listen to respond, listen to hear. Call out ideas, but be kind to people. We're all going to make mistakes. Be courageous in your convictions, but don't be closed to new ideas. Fundamental to the actual enactment of all of these principles is the continued practice of learning. So keep reading, think about those sources, evaluate the evidence, research some more, ask some questions.
Seek balance. Don't burn out.
Think big, but act incrementally. Pace yourself.
Find your vibe.
Build bridges, not walls.
Stephanie, I'd like to end my section of our conversation by sharing one of my favorite quotes from Dr. Benjamin Elijah Mays, one of the most distinguished graduates of Bates College. Dr. Mays said, "The tragedy of life doesn't lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goal to reach. It isn't a calamity to die with dreams unfulfilled, but it is a calamity not to dream. It is not a disgrace not to reach the stars, but it is a disgrace to have no stars to reach for. Not failure, but low aim is sin."
Well, Charles, I too will end with a quote. In commemoration of the anniversary of the 19th Amendment, I will offer you all a quote from Carrie Chapman Catt. And I offer this to the class of 2024 and all of our community members as a little bit of advice. To the wrongs that need resistance, to the right that needs assistance, to the future in the distance, give yourselves. Class of 2024, welcome to Bates.
Now go get busy.
Please join me for a closing benediction, a blessing for the year, in whatever manner is most comfortable and at home for you. Holy One, Sacred Many, we teeter on the cusp of a new academic year at Bates College, hearts joyously full with the familiar feelings of welcome and excitement, and yet wary that the year ahead will feel strange and more disparate than ever before. May we become chameleon-like as we navigate the mysterious path ahead, fluidly adapting and transforming with our surroundings. Even when we feel wrapped in uncertainty, may we know what is essential, learn what gives us life, and sense when we are called to create something new. In this moment, wherever you are, let us take a communal, centering breath and sense the sacred, deep togetherness that only pilgrimaging through unknown territory such as this can bring. May we be good to each other on the journey. May we be caring companions on unexpected terrain. May we share laughter and life despite worry and grief. May we offer one another rest amidst exhaustion. And as Batesy William Stringfellow wrote, may we listen deeply as a primitive act of love. We are called to care for one another and this Bates community in ways never asked of us before. May we rise to this occasion with compassion and courage. May it be so. Amen.